into cloud. Aditi, did you get the signal for the cloud recording?
Yes, yes. And I tapped allow.
Accepted, right? Huh?
Yeah,
Because
it's
I'm just
recording. It's
checking.
recording. Yeah.
I don't want issues like last time. There was a major mistake.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't worry. It's being recorded. Yeah.
It's being recorded, right?
Yeah, yeah. I can see the record icon on the left, right corner.
Okay.
Yeah, left corner. Sorry, top corner.
Okay. Yes. Just being on the safer side. So we don't have issues like last time.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
Recording is on. I think everybody got the alert.
Okay. Perfect. Right. Okay. So I'm going to quickly get into the basically some drills which I would basically recommend. Okay. So obviously we've done specific mobility drills right at the first session. Okay. So your general warm-up still remains the same. You can basically do 5 minutes of treadmill or cycling or elliptical, which is your general warm-up. In specific warm-up, we can drills that are basically going to help us improve the hinge at the hip. Okay. So what are some of the drills that we would do? Okay. So let's say something like a cat camel drill. Okay. So this is a quadruped position where you're basically on all four. Quadruped means 1, 2, 3, and 4, all four limbs. Okay. So something like a cat camel position. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So you can obviously do 10, 15, whatever, depends on the comfort of the person. So something like this. Okay. Then what is the other drill that I would do? Basically, before I am actually getting under the bar for deadlift. Okay. Something like this. So hands go up. Okay. My hands are above the head. Elbows flared out. Okay. Then shoulder width stance and try to hinge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this also becomes like a very good drill. If you want to teach someone how to basically do a deadlift, which is like a hinge movement. Okay. So before you actually start with an exercise with the bar, this would be a very good way of doing it. So one is with the body weight. Then obviously, again, if you want to give the person a feel of how the bar will be, how the setup will be, so you take a PVC pipe, try to do the same thing. Okay. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I could even do this, okay, because this is generally what we do in the exercise called good morning. Again, it's a hinge movement. So we are doing the same thing in good morning also. Okay, the bar stays here where you generally hold it for your squat position. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So deadlift, again, good morning, one very good example of a hinge movement exercise. The other examples, like I already gave in bent over rows, which we are basically going to be covering in the next session. But basically, these are the kind of drills that I would do before I go for the hinge exercise. What are the other things I would do? Again, so your hinge, for a hinge to happen effectively, again, people have hip flexors, okay, tight hip flexors because of sitting a lot, okay, continuous sitting on the chair. So what I would do, this is the same drill which I had shown previously also in the, I think the last session, okay. I take a big leap, take a long stride, shin is parallel to the floor, okay. One hand goes here at the bottom. I rotate myself, go all the way up, come back, all the way up, come back. While I'm trying to do this, my rear leg, okay, the leg which is behind also remains as straight as possible, okay. So this is the position, not this. This is the position, and then I go all the way up and come back. So about 10 repetitions of these. Then one other drill which will really help a lot is the 1990 drill, which we covered earlier also, which is for the hip mobility again, which is again sitting in this position. My toes, feet are here. Okay, I'm going to face the camera. Okay, so this is the drill. If this is the drill, this is how I'm sitting. Okay. My hands are exactly below my body, right behind the shoulder. And I'd go into the 1980 position. We call it 1980 drill because if you see, we are forming a 90-degree angle here and here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do the desired number of repetitions. This is again like a very good drill. Okay. Something like a toe touch in the end. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lastly, I would prefer that people do a lot of hanging movements because again, excellent for your shoulder health. Okay. So if I jump, the microphone will fall. Okay. 1 second. I'm going to turn the camera and basically show the hanging movement, what I'm saying. Okay. So ensure that you do this for most of your workouts. I hope the camera can catch it clearly because there's a lot of glare of the sun behind. Okay.
Yeah, we can see. We can see.
Yeah. So this is elevation of the scapula, depression. Elevation, depression. Elevation, depression. Okay. I don't know if elevation and depression could be understood by everyone. I'm going to try and do it over here on this particular rack because the lighting is better on this side. Okay. So what I do first, obviously adjust the safety bar. Okay. Okay, this is done. Okay. Put my hand here, shoulder width. Okay. While I'm hanging straight. Now, if you see, I'm nicely elevating my shoulders, depressing. Elevating, depressing. Elevating, depressing. So this will, if you have shoulder mobility issues, again, very good drill. I always like to do it before most of my workouts, like whether it's upper body workout or it's the lower body workout. Always try to do this. Okay, so now we are going to get into your main deadlift. Okay, so now when you start with the deadlift, a couple of things. Sonali is obviously going to demonstrate the entire movement when we do it. I'm going to cover basically the technique part. What are the main things that we need to keep attention on? Okay, so when we are doing the deadlift, okay, let's bring the bar here. Okay, let's put the safety collars. Okay, so what are the things that we need to keep in mind basically when we are doing the deadlift? Okay, now we are talking about basically deadlift for general populations. Okay, we are not really getting into the complex material. We are talking about general things. What are you supposed to keep in mind for the general population? So no matter what stance you choose, whether you choose a regular stance, which is standing like the way I'm standing right now. Okay, so this is your regular stance, the way I'm standing. Okay, this is how I normally stand. So this is the regular stance. So whether you choose a regular stance or you choose a sumo stance, okay, if you can see this, this is the sumo stance. Okay, so wide stance or sumo stance. Okay, now this is sumo or wide stance. Okay, this is the regular stance, and in between the wide and the regular, you have something called the hybrid stance. Okay, so someone like me, I prefer doing the hybrid. Okay, so if you see, this is what is hybrid. Hybrid means what? The combination of two, not regular, not wide. Okay, just between the two, hybrid stance. For common populations, whatever your general population that you're training, whether you're doing a regular stance, hybrid stance, wide stance, doesn't matter. What you need to keep in mind is the safety. Okay, so basically safety at the back. Now basically sometimes it is also said that we should not have back rounding is harmful and this and that. But sometimes what happens, we see in major deadlift competitions, powerlifting competitions, elite level athletes actually have a thoracic rounding, okay, upper back rounding. So when they are lifting, they actually round from the upper back while pulling it up, okay. They actually do that also. Over there, when it comes to elite athletes, it's okay. For general populations, we try to maintain as much neutral curvature as possible, okay, because we don't want any issue. Elite athletes can handle the kind of stress that happens, okay, because they are conditioned for it. They train regularly. Nutrition is up to point, recovery is up to point, so they can handle that kind of stress. Normal people, very difficult, general population. So we try to ensure that their safety is of most important first, okay. So while you're doing any kind of stance, what you're trying to ensure is that 3 to 4 points. Spine position, okay, the natural curvature of the spine should be maintained, okay. Again, next is your head position, okay. So when you're doing the deadlift also, okay, when you're doing the deadlift, okay, when you're going for the lift, we are trying to look here, slightly ahead of the toes, okay. So if my toes are here, okay, I'm looking probably got 2 to 3 feet ahead of the toes. So that is my head position. I go from there, come back here, go from here, come back here. Head position does not change, okay. We are trying to maintain same head position. We are trying to maintain the neutral head position. Neutral means the normal head position, which is always there. Like while I'm talking to you right now, I'm in a normal head position, neutral head position. So we try to maintain this particular position when we are going for the lift. Head. Second thing, what has been helpful in executing a deadlift is basically your shoulder position, okay. So shoulder retraction. So now right now I'm standing straight, okay. I'm standing with a neutral position. This is retraction. This is protraction, okay. So showing from the sides, okay. Again, if I'm standing straight, this is retraction. This is protraction, the rounding at the back. So protraction, okay. So what I'm trying to do is that when I'm initiating a lift, I want good tightness, stability in the upper back. So I try to retract my shoulders a little bit, okay. Also pressing the armpits nice and tight. So this is your armpit area. You're pressing the armpit area against the upper body. So this tightness, okay. Because as soon as you press the armpits against the body, it's activating your lats, okay. So your latissimus activation is again very important because it's the biggest muscle in the back, okay. You need that biggest muscle in the back to be activated well, okay. It gives you nice rigidity and stability while you are initiating the lift, okay. So what all did we cover? We spoke about the neck, then we spoke about the shoulder retraction, okay. Then we spoke about the latissimus activation, okay. So press it hard, okay. So imagine if I have a finger, I put my finger underneath the armpits and I nicely press it hard, nice and tight pressing. So that is going to improve your lat activation. Then when you're coming up, if this is the movement that you're coming up, your shoulders and your knee position should happen at the same time. So your shoulders are rising, your hip is rising exactly at the same time, okay. So this is the deadlift. So shoulder and hip movement happen at the same time, okay. It's not that the shoulder should come up first or the hip should come up first. So if you see commonly in people who are very lower dominant, okay, lower body dominant in deadlift, you'll see that the hip movement starts first. And specifically in females, you'll see this problem sometimes, because females are more dominant in lower body strength than upper body strength, which is a well-known fact. Everybody knows, okay. So you'll see that females tend to move first at the hip, then at the shoulder. So what will happen is that when they are executing the lift, this will happen first, start first, and then in the lockout, they have a problem. So this happens then. Instead of it happening simultaneously, okay, hip and shoulder moving simultaneously, their hip will start moving in first, and then the shoulder starts arriving, okay. What happens in men? Sometimes opposite. The shoulder comes up first, and then the hip comes in, okay. So this is the problem. So upper body dominant deadlift, lower body dominant deadlift. People who are lower body dominant deadlift will hinge. The hip will come in first, then the shoulder arrives. In men, sometimes who are dominant in the upper body strength, they don't train lower body enough. Shoulders tend to rise up first, then the hip follows. But ideally, what do you want? You want the hip and shoulder to move at the same time. So if I am executing my lift, okay, if this is the lift position that I'm going to execute. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So both move at the same time. Okay. Now, what are the other discussions that we do in under deadlift? Okay. Other common discussions with deadlift is basically your holding position. How are you going to grip it? Just a sec, sorry. Yeah, how the gripping position is going to be in deadlift. So basically, one way of holding is basically prone position. Okay, overhand, the one which I was holding. I'm more comfortable with prone position. Other way of holding is dead grip. One prone, one supine. Okay, so dead grip is this. Prone supine or prone supine, whichever you prefer. There is no such rule as to which has to be prone, which has to be supine. You can decide which one you are comfortable with. Accordingly, you can change it. Okay, which one you want. When you're doing prone also can be executed very well. Okay, sometimes what happens is that people will need lifting straps. Okay, so lifting straps again are very helpful if someone is having grip strength which is very weak. Okay, wants to improve it further, but obviously your grip strength will not immediately improve in the first week or the second week. It takes time. It's a gradual increase. Okay, but still, sometimes if you want to use lifting straps, you can use it. Okay, and lifting straps and gloves are very different from each other. Okay, so gloves everybody knows, right? Because people wear for bikes and all also. I think people sell it on the signal also. I see bikers wearing gloves and all that. So there are gloves which you see of Adidas and Reebok, okay, which we wear it sometimes that we wear for workout. Regular gloves is basically like it's like a second skin, okay. It's sitting on your entire palm, okay. You wear it because sometimes people don't want that calluses to develop, okay. So people wear gloves to prevent calluses from happening. Lifting straps are different. Fortunately, I'm carrying my lifting straps in the bag, so I can show what are lifting straps also at the same time. Okay, so these are like lifting straps. Okay, how do we use the lifting straps? So basically, what we do is that I'll take a strap, I'll slip my hand underneath. Okay, so this is the lifting strap. I take this underneath, connect the Velcro here. Okay, now these are my lifting straps. Okay, so this is my strap. What is the benefit of using a lifting strap? This is what we'll discuss now. Okay, so sometimes lifting straps can help you overcome that grip strength issues that you have. Okay, so if your grip strength is the limitation, which is avoiding you or preventing you from lifting heavy, then lifting strap is a good solution for that. Okay, so now why is this thing hanging? Okay, some people may have a question, why is this thing particular hanging? So what actually happens is that when I wear a lifting strap, okay, I'm expecting to roll the sleeve underneath the bar. So if you see right now, this is where I am. Okay, I'm going to turn the barbell here. Okay, so if you see, the strap goes underneath the bar. Okay, if you can see now, this is underneath the bar. Okay, I pull it in and press my palm on it. Okay, so now what happens? The bar can never come out of my hand. Again, this is the strap. I wrap it around the bar. Okay, and turn it in, press my palm against the strap, and then what happens? It gives me a nice tight grip. So grip strength will not be a limitation now if I have to lift heavy. Okay. 1. 2. Okay. So that is the other benefit of using lifting straps. Okay, because it prevents you. Some people generally have a grip strength which is very weak. Okay, they want to push heavy. They know that their back is not tired, their legs are not tired. They can actually push for more strength, but because of the grip strength weakness, they tend to give up early. So this will help you overcome that problem. So this is the benefit for lifting straps. Then the other thing that I wanted to explain was basically breathing. I think breathing is something that we've discussed in the last topic also. Again, breathing, Valsalva maneuver, which is exchange of breath at the basically end of your concentric eccentric phase. Okay, so like in conventional deadlift, your lift starts from the bottom. Okay, your starts from the bottom, your rep ends also at the bottom. So if I'm doing 3 reps, My rep starts from the ground, ends also at the ground. So that is 1 rep. Again, starts from the ground, ends at the ground, 2 reps. Okay. So in Ulcer maneuver, what do? The exchange of breath happens at the start and the end point there itself, where the rep is starting and ending. That is the Valsalva maneuver technique. Again, we've already discussed about how it has benefits, okay, with stability to your entire posture. So that is one very good part that can help you. Or if you don't want to complicate things, and for most of the clients, we don't even need to complicate the breathing so much. I would just say exhale as you go against the gravity. So if Sonali is doing the lift, every time she's lifting, the weight is going against the gravity, right? The gravity is here, the weight is going against the gravity. So exhale, that's it. Inhale, she will automatically do it. Just focus on the exhale. So anytime you're lifting the weight going against the gravity, exhale. So both are right. Valsalva is also good. Inhale, exhale, according to the gravity line also, doing it is good. It depends on what you're comfortable with. Sonali does a lot of times Valsalva maneuver. Okay, she's already comfortable with that. She's been practicing a lot of times. I mean, since a quite long time. I would sometimes decide, depending on the exercise, I will decide. If I'm doing a squat, I may do Valsalva maneuver. On other exercises, if I'm not lifting very heavy, I might just do a normal exchange of breath, which is exhaling at the when I'm going anti-gravity. Okay, so that covers the grip type. So let me summarize. We've discussed the stance, okay, regular, hybrid, wide. Then we discussed about the hip position and the shoulder, so both moving at the same time. We've discussed about straps. We've discussed about the neck position. We've discussed about the shoulder position. What else are we missing? Okay, yeah. Sorry. One more point is that when you are basically going to start the lift, okay, when you're starting the lift, always ensure that your shoulders are over the bar or slightly ahead. Okay. So if this is my start position, okay, when I'm going for my lift, okay, so if you see my shoulders over the bar or slightly forward, okay, so this is my start position. This is the position that I would achieve, okay, so my shoulders over or slightly above. So that is my entire position that I'm going to be basically using in deadlift. Okay, what we are basically going to do first, Sonali is going to execute about a couple of reps on the conventional deadlift. Then I will also show some sumo deadlift or hybrid stance deadlift. Okay, and then we can also do Q&A at the same time. Okay, Sonali, you want to do some warm up with the empty bar or something? So good. Okay. So Sonali is going to execute a conventional style of deadlift. Okay, which basically she's going to try and about do 10 reps. Okay, so now if you see shoulders, again just summarizing, so we'll just go a little more behind, so you'll be in the nicely in the frame. The light is better behind. Yes, perfect. Okay, so get into the setup. Shoulders exactly above or slightly in front of the bar. Okay, neck position, she's looking about 2 to 3 feet in front of her toes. Okay, shoulders are retracted. Okay, in deadlift, again, one more very important point is that basically your hip is above the knee. Okay, in squats, the hip is allowed to basically go below the knee, but in deadlift, the big difference between squat and deadlift is that the hip position. So the hip position is above the knee. Okay, that is a major difference. Now Sonali is going to breathe and do 5 reps. Okay. Two, nice. 3, 4, and last 5, 9. Okay, so this is what the conventional deadlift looks like. Okay, so she was doing conventional deadlift. I'm going to try and perform basically this way, so I can face the camera and everybody can watch when I'm doing with the hybrid stance. Okay, but I'm just going to need to put a little more weight when I do the hybrid or the sumo stance, because this will not be very comfortable for me to set up. So I'll need a little more weight for it to start. Okay, so we are going to add some more weight. Okay. It's okay. No problem. Okay, that is good. Okay, Aditi, just tell me if this setup looks better. if I do it in this position?
Yeah, I think, yeah, for sumo, like, I think this is good. Because you have shown the hinge pattern from the sideways. Now I think sumo front view would be better. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I have one more idea. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and get rid of this. The safety bar, I don't need it right now. Okay, so I'm going to turn the bar at an angle a bit so that I am exactly facing the front. Is that better? Yes, Aditi, now tell me.
Yes.
Is it okay if I'm here?
Yes, we are good. Yeah.
Okay, hello. So now, like I said, okay, so again, basic things remain the same. Okay, now whichever position I take, whether I take the hybrid or the sumo, the knees are tracking the toe direction. Okay, so my knees have to track the toes. Okay, hands basically act like, what do you say, like hooks. Okay, so they are right exactly in line with my shoulders when I'm going for the sumo or the hybrid stance. Okay, only difference in sumo and hybrid is that in sumo I'll be even more wider. So I'm not comfortable with sumo too much, so I prefer hybrid. Okay, so this is the hybrid stance. Okay, so hands are hanging from the shoulder. Okay, so this is the position. I will straight away go down. Okay, this is my position. I push the knees out. Okay, push the knees out. It nicely tightens my hip bucket. Okay, this happens. Then I retract my shoulders. Take a deep breath. Okay, so that was 5 reps on the hybrid, which you can say, but basically it's a wide stance deadlift. Okay, nothing else changes. Head position, hip position, pressing the armpits, tightness at the shoulder, retraction, everything remains the same. You can ask me questions till I catch my breath.
Yes, coach. So, yeah. So, Tina, I think you have already covered this part, but I'll still ask, right? So, this is by Tina. What is the correct stance while dropping the bar? As in, back can be relaxed. Oh, sorry, you haven't taken this. Sorry. So, what is the correct stance while dropping the bar? As in, back can be relaxed or has to be arched or kept neutral, same while lifting.
When you're deloading the bar to the ground.
Yes. So, first, her question is, what is the correct stance while dropping the bar?
Correct stance while dropping the bar means,
yeah.
Now,
obviously, the stance is not going to
dropping
change.
the bar means during the set, if you're doing 5 repetitions during the set, are you talking about the eccentric portion? Because then if you're still in the middle of the set, then basically you have to maintain the entire postural control that is needed for concentric. So no difference in the posture whether it's concentric or eccentric, because dropping the bar with a very relaxed back can give you a pull at the back. So again, your postural tightness has to be maintained. If you have finished the set, last rep is already done, then you're throwing it, then generally I will not basically go and throw like this. If I'm standing straight, I'll just leave the bar. Because I'm not bothered, right? My lift is already completed. Like if you see in powerlifting competition, if it's only about the concentric, okay? I've lifted, finished the rep. I'm waiting for the judge to give me a hand. If the judge says that yes, I've qualified, the lift is qualified, I'll just leave it. Because in powerlifting also, you don't get judged on the eccentric. You get judged on the concentric. Yeah. But again, what I'm saying depends federation to federation. Some federation will say that you have to even keep the bar back. You have to keep it properly back. So depends which federation is doing it. But I'm saying like basically when in CrossFit also, in Olympic lifting and all that, it's always about the concentric. Okay. So it's lifting the bar, overhead, snatching, sitting. Okay. Once the lift is complete, the judge shows you the finger or the coach shows you the finger that yes, it's done. You just throw it, right? Because there you are not looking for the eccentric control. It's more to do with the concentric part. So as far as that is achieved, you can leave it. And I'll just leave it from here. So I'll not relax my back and leave it. But during the set, if it's 5 repetitions, 10 repetitions, while you're doing the set and you're going for the deload every time, which happens in a conventional deadlift, then obviously you have to maintain the entire postural tightness, which you are keeping while doing the concentric also.
Okay.
Yes.
So another question by Sumedha, hand placement, should it be shoulder width or wider?
Hand placement should be shoulder width or wider. Okay. So nice question, Sumedha. So what I'm going to do, Sumedha, I'm going to be in this position only. Okay. Now what happens is that, Sumedha, if I'm doing the deadlift, okay, what happens is that when a person is seeing me from the side, I want everything, both the hands and both the legs, I want it to be in one line when I look at it from the side. So if Sonali is doing it and Sonali is doing the repetitions, okay, and I'm looking at Sonali from the side, I want all four of them to be in one line. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what happens is that if I want all four of them to be in a line, then I'll have to hold it outside my legs, right? If I keep it inside my shoulder, then it's going to come ahead. Like it will be overlapping with my legs. So I don't want this. I want this to happen. So while I'm doing the movement, okay. So see, now this is my leg position, okay. So your hand position where you're going to hold on the bar is dominated by the leg position, okay. So now I want to lift efficiently. I'm going to hold it outside my legs. Okay. So if you can see, this is just outside my hand. When I lock my hands, okay, see, right now my hands are relaxed. Now I lock it. So if you see, it's just touching the leg. If I hold it too close, it's going to push my knee inward. That is not the best position to lift from. So when you lock your hands, you should not push your knees inside. You should be nice and strong over here in this position. Then hold it, lock your hands, and go for the lift. Okay, so this is the position. Now, if I was doing deadlift in a wide stance, okay. Now in a wide stance, what happens? I can't hold it like this. This is uncomfortable, right? My hand needs to act as hooks. So this is not an efficient position. This becomes an efficient position. So now if I'm doing wide stance, then my hands are just hanging from the shoulders. I fix my hand on the bar, look straight, tighten up. Okay, so we've seen the hand position for both the grips, whether you're doing a regular stance, whether you're doing a wide stance. Okay, next question, Aditi, what is it?
Okay. So do feet have to be in a straight line, or we can have a slight angle like we do for the squats? That is by Pronate.
Up to 30-degree angles is allowed. Again, depends on the mechanics of the body, Pranoti. Everybody. So when you're doing a regular stance deadlift, if your toes are completely straight, no problem. That is good. If you are someone, because of some tightness and mobility issue in the hip, you want to keep your toes slightly angled, do it. How is it wrong? It's not at all wrong, because what we are concerned with is that you should be able to lift the weight off the floor with a good speed, with good safety. Spine should not change. So if you want to keep it slightly angled, no harm. Yeah.
So another question by Vaishali. I've seen many people doing an extension bend while coming up. Is that correct?
Extension bend.
I think she meant to say the hyperextension. Like, you know, people
okay.
have that.
Okay.
We can see a lot of people doing that hyperextension at the top.
Okay. So, okay. So, I believe.
I think, yeah, if you want to show, I think you have to show it from the side view, because we won't be able to see you.
This is what Vaishali is saying, right? This I'm standing straight. This is what she's saying.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Now, Vaishali, if you see, it's a hinge movement happening at the hip joint. Okay. What are we seeing in this particular movement, in the hinge movement? Okay. Flexion and extension, right? This is a movement which happens in the sagittal plane. Flexion and extension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. What are we trying to do? We are trying to do flexion, extension. Done. There is no need for the hyperextension, because your joint movement is flexion and extension. There is no such thing as hyperextension. Hyperextension is done when, you know, in competitions, when you are lifting extremely heavy weight, maximal weight. Okay. So there what happens, sometimes the performer who is trying to do the lift, he also does not realize whether the position has got completed or not. Okay. Now imagine if I'm lifting 200 kgs, I'm like stressed, right? There's so much of stress going on. I'm shaking. While I'm coming up, everything is shaking, shaking, shaking. When I reach here, I also don't come to know whether I've extended or not. So I try to do this so that I get a mental signal that, okay, the lift is completed. And sometimes in heavy weights, you have to do this so that the judge understands that you've completed the lift. Because the judge does not sit on the side, he sits in the front. You're performing on the stage. So how does the judge understand whether this thing is completed? Because you're not sitting on the ear. So I have to do this so that the judge understands that the extension is complete. I have to go into hyperextension to make the judge realize that the extension is complete. Got it or confused?
Yeah. Yeah, correct.
Correct,
No,
right? Got it.
Yeah.
Great. Next.
Okay.
What other questions?
So the next question is by Sumedha. Sometimes in eccentric phase, I feel that the barbell should touch my shins. In this case, where am I going wrong?
Repeat the question.
During the eccentric
phase.
Sumedha says that during her eccentric phase, she feels that the barbell would touch her shins. In this case, where am I going wrong? So she's saying that is it wrong if the bar is touching her shins when she's coming down?
No, not at all. The barbell does touch the shin sometimes. That happens. That's why if you see in competition, people wear such long socks. If you see powerlifters, they wear socks which go up till the knee. That's because they don't want to bruise their shins, because the bar does touch the shin for them also. So they wear long socks to avoid the bruising. If it touches, there's nothing, no harm, nothing at all. Because it is good because you're keeping the weight close to the body.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay. So another question by Navjeet. Does one hand pronated and one hand supinated grip leads to muscle imbalance in the shoulders?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
One hand pronated, one hand supinated. Navjeet, how will it affect the shoulder? The movement is happening at the radioulnar joint. Over here, the movement is occurring. See, the elbow does not change in position. The elbow is my bicep changing the position. See, whether I do this, where is my bicep changing the position? Bicep is still at the same place. So the mechanic is only changing here. Whether I do prone or whether I do supine, this does not change. So there is no issue at the shoulder joint. If you still feel that probably you are feeling something in the shoulder, then keep changing. For 1 month, do this. Then second month, do this. Again, third month, do this. You can keep changing. There's no harm.
Yeah.
It's good. In fact, if you keep changing, good. Every month or two, keep changing your hand. But there is no imbalance that you'll develop at the shoulder, because shoulder mechanics don't change, right? You're still retracting.
Yeah.
Your retraction ability does not change because of this.
And
whether I do this,
the weight is the same on
whether
both
I do
the
this
sides.
or whether I do this, see, prone or dead grip, the retraction ability does not change.
Yeah. Okay. So another question by Amit. Which one is the best between rack deadlift and convention? Yeah. So another question by Amit. Which one is the best between rack deadlift and conventional deadlift?
So Amit, the place where you experience more tension and more muscle activation, more range of motion, will always be benefit for hypertrophy. The place you are basically experiencing more strength. Now it depends. If you are participating in a rack deadlift competition, practice rack deadlift. If you are participating in a conventional deadlift competition, practice conventional deadlift. If you're saying more hypertrophy, where will I get? Conventional deadlift. Because again, better from the ground, right? Range of motion is better when you're lifting from the ground. Again, tension will be more because of the range of motion is more. Okay. But if you want to only improve on the rack deadlift, okay. Now rack deadlift also can be very helpful if someone has a weak lockout. Okay. If your lockout position is very weak, which means you are able to lift the weight off the floor, but you are not able to complete the rep. Okay, because you have weakness in this particular position, which is related to the hinge. Okay, practice rack deadlifts for a few months. Go back to the ground, see how it works. But basically, the only purpose of doing a rack deadlift is for what? Again, if you're not bothered about hypertrophy or strength, you just want to focus on like just enjoying. You lift. Sorry, again, not hypertrophy, but strength is the main thing. You want to focus on strength. Okay, you want to lift a heavy weight. Start with the rack deadlift again, because your ability to go heavy on the rack deadlift will be much higher because the range of motion is small. As soon as you improve on the rack deadlift, you are confident that yes, I can now increase the range of motion, go on the floor. But to get someone to start practicing, it is good. Rack deadlift can be a good good option. Sorry.
Okay, so another question by Navjeet. Do we need to put anything under the plates while doing deadlift?
Same logic, no, Navjeet. Rack पे करो, plates डालो नीचे. You're just reducing the range of motion.
So do we need to?
दिमाग की बत्ती जलाओ. It's the same thing. No matter what you're using, I mean, just think, no.
That's just about the cutting
Anywhere,
the range,
basically, you're just playing with the range of motion. Now, some places you'll see people stand on the plates and then do the deadlift. That is called deficit deadlift. Why do we do deficit deadlift? To further the range of motion, to increase it further.
Increase, yeah.
मैं इधर से कर रहा हूँ, मेरे को कम पड़ रहा है. So what do? I put 2 plates underneath. I stand. When I stand on the plates, imagine if the plates are like about 6 inches in height or 8 inches in height. That means I am standing on a platform which is 8 inches in height, but the plates are still below that. That means I have increased the range of motion, right?
Yeah.
So someone who has weakness at the bottom, okay? Some people have weakness at the top. They are not able to lock out. They can lift the weight off the floor, but they cannot lock out. For them, rack deadlift is good. Some people are very bad at the bottom. नीचे से ही weight नहीं उठता है. So what will I do? I will try to stress the muscles at that point. How will I do that? Don't increase the weight, increase the range of motion at the bottom. Increase the deficit. So deficit deadlift. So that means your ability to lift off the ground will become better from there. So that when you are in competition, that 8 inches will off. Competition में थोड़ी ना 8 inches से खड़े रह के करना है. तो फिर क्या होगा? Your muscles' ability to react will be much faster because your muscle was already experiencing tension from 8 inches below that. Now you have removed that 8 inches, so the activation will be much better and faster. So it's basically these are just ways of improving your weakness, working on your weakness. Rack deadlift for the second half of the lift, the top portion, mid to top portion. Deficit deadlift, ground to middle portion. Like the bottom पे काम करना है weakness है, so deficit deadlift is also good.
Okay.
Everywhere you're just trying to play with the range of motion, whatever you must have seen on the internet, basically.
Yeah. So another question by Pranoti, she is saying, do we need to tuck in pelvis before starting the deadlift?
Do we need to tuck in the pelvis before starting the
deadlift? I don't know if she means that, that glute activation at the top, but tuck in. So that should be at the top, right?
Now, Pranoti, if you're talking about the conventional deadlift, that will be a wrong question. Because if your hip is already under flexion, how will you tuck the pelvis? Tucking the pelvis is this. If my hip is already under flexion, how will I tuck the pelvis? So if you're doing a conventional deadlift, okay, in conventional deadlift, you cannot tuck your pelvis. But if your question was that if I'm doing a RDL, because RDL, the position starts from the top, okay? So then if you tuck the pelvis and release it, it will bring your pelvis into a good neutral position. Then go for the lift, come up. Again, tuck. Go for the lift, come up. So in RDL, you can do it. Conventional deadlift, you cannot do it, no? Because the hip is already flexed.
Yeah, she meant with the RDL only.
Correct. I assume. Yes. Other question, Temi? Aditi, are you asking?
Oh, sorry. I had muted myself. Yes. So there's another question by Nidhi. She's asking, what is the difference between RDL and stiff leg deadlift? And again, I have got another question about the same. What's the difference between RDL, sumo deadlift, and deadlift? So basically, all the types of deadlifts. Sumo, RDL,
they all are
stiff
basically
leg.
hinge movements only. Yes. They all are hinge movements. But basically, just tell me the first question that you asked. Sorry.
Difference between RDL and stiff leg deadlift?
Very little. Very basically in stiff leg deadlift, basically your knee is completely extended and then you're trying to do the movement. In RDL, you're allowed still a little bit of knee bend. That's all. What do I choose for my clients? RDL, because little knee bend is allowed, right? Because most of the clients have tight hamstrings, tight back because of sedentary lifestyle. So RDL works greater. If I tell them to keep the knees completely extended and then I'm trying to tell them to go here, see, I also get stuck here only because my hamstrings are also tight. But if I have a RDL, I can do this. So I would choose that. So it's just the degree of knee bend, which is different in RDL and stiff left. If you want to emphasize your glutes and hamstrings very well, do the stiff leg deadlift. You'll be able to emphasize them much better. But again, that also requires a lot of flexibility and mobility. Okay. If not, RDL is equally good. You'll be able to load it much better with that little bit of freedom at the knee joint, which is allowed. Romanian deadlift. Long concept was by Romans. They come up with the concept of Romanian deadlift. It doesn't really matter. Even that little bit of knee bend is okay. Loaded well, you'll get the muscle activation, growth will occur. And what was the second question? Sorry. Aditi, you're on mute.
Okay, that and another question is the difference between RDL, conventional deadlift. Yeah.
RDL, conventional deadlift, and sumo, no?
Yeah, sumo. Yeah.
So conventional and sumo, so we already spoken, right?
Yeah, you have already explained it in the beginning, I think, right? So this is by.
Which one? I demonstrated both the positions.
Yeah.
So
RDL, sumo,
now.
and
sumo.
Yeah.
Sonali is going to demonstrate the RDL deadlift, and then I will discuss RDL. Okay. Sonali, come.
Okay.
We'll do the RDL with the dumbbells. You can put that.
Yeah,
on.
somebody has actually requested it for the dumbbell. Yeah, Ekta has requested to perform one deadlift with the help of dumbbells.
Okay, I'll do that. We are doing the RDL deadlift. Huh? Up to you. 10 is good. See, it's here only, right in front of you. Okay, let us clear this thing out of the frame. 1 second, I'll clear this outside the frame, and then you can come and do it here. Okay, Sonali. Okay, so see, now Sonali is going to be performing an RDL. Sonali, come behind. No? Yes, this is good. Okay, so RDL again, shoulder width stance. Okay, Sonali, shoulder width slightly out. That's it. Shoulder width stance, head position, shoulder position remains the same. Head neutral, shoulders retracted. Okay, core slightly braced. Okay, so pull your belly button slightly inside, tighten, brace your core. See, if I tap, I can feel that she's hardened her stomach. So perfect position. Okay, now neck position again. She has to look about 3 feet ahead of the toes, 2 to 3 feet ahead of the toes. So she's going to look here. That will ensure that the neck is in the best position. Okay. Now dumbbells, you're not holding it on the front. You're not holding it on the side. You're holding it diagonally this way. So if you see, it's like imagine I've tried to put my hands inside the pocket. Okay. So which position is this? My hands are placed diagonally. It's not here. It's not here. I'm placing it diagonally. So that is exactly how Sonali is holding. Okay. She's going to do about 8 reps, and then we discuss about the RDL. Okay. Now you'll observe what is happening in conventional, and you'll observe what is happening in RDL. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's don't go too low. 6, 7, and 8. That's it. Okay. Now I will also try to perform a set. Okay. What I'm going to use is that I'll be basically using a barbell to do the same thing. For dumbbells, I can get a better position for the hands. I can hold it diagonally. With the barbell, I'm going to keep it just exactly how I was doing it for the conventional deadlift, the prone position. Okay. Aditi, is the angle okay?
Yeah. Maybe you can keep it a little diagonally, right? Thoda sa diagonally.
I'm going to
you can keep the bar
so
instead of straight. Yeah.
Is this okay? See the hip position from neck, shoulders, neck position set. Okay. And here we go. Okay. Now, what was the major difference? Aditi, can you tell me what was the major difference between the two lifts that we did?
Sorry,
What I
there
did
was
right now versus what I did in the conventional.
a so you started, I think there was a glitch, sorry. So I think you started from the top. This lift, you started from the top, right? The conventional, you start, yeah, in conventional, you started the lift from the bottom. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Now, is the network good?
Yeah, now it is good because I don't know,
Okay.
it was from my
I'm
end
going
or
to
your end
I'm going
for
to
the
tell
first 10
something
seconds.
very important. So I hope everybody's paying attention. Okay. Now, what
Yeah.
happens is that in the conventional deadlift, one big difference between RDL and conventional is that in conventional deadlift, we do a deload.
Yeah.
What do we mean by the deload? That means every rep starts as good as the first rep. Okay.
Yes.
What do we mean by the deload? It's basically we set up the
Starts.
bar. Okay. I reset my position. This is deload. Again, I reset.
Yeah.
Again, reset my shoulders, my hands. This is deload. In RDL, was there a deload? I was
No,
holding the weight in my hand. I made sure she did 8 reps. Only then she kept the weight off.
yes.
That is one big difference. In conventional deadlift, we do the RDL. We do the deload, which
Deload.
means every rep should be as good as the first rep. Okay. Conventional deadlift we practice also. Why? Extremely good for strength development.
Yes.
Muscle tiredness, muscle fatigue should not become a limitation when you're training. So that's why in conventional deadlift we reset the grip. Shoulders are getting tired, reset the shoulders. Hand grip is getting tired, reset the hand grip, then lift. So every rep is as good as the first rep. So we are resetting. Okay. Something called the stretch reflex. Okay. We take out the stretch reflex every time in the conventional deadlift because your muscles also have an elastic component, right? It stretches, then it recoils back. Extensibility, elasticity, muscles have that. So the moment I do this, then again I go for this. Now my muscles are getting stretched, right? Extensibility. But if I deload the weight, that elastic energy which is generated dissipates as heat energy. It goes out of the body. That is why in RDL, I can still do 10, 20 reps with a good heavy weight. Conventional deadlift, very difficult to rep out. Why? If you see many people, they bounce at the bottom when they do conventional deadlift. Because to keep the weight every time on the floor, that stretch reflex dissipates. The stretch reflex is generating elastic energy. The elastic energy, when you deload and when you take 2 seconds to rest and reset, it dissipates as heat energy from the body. So the potential of the elastic energy is evaporated, it's gone. That's why many people, when they load a lot of weight, they tell you that they are doing conventional deadlift, but then they do this. Okay, start. 2, 3, 4. What is happening? Did someone realize? I was getting a bounce
Yes.
from the bottom.
Bouncing, yeah. Bouncing effect.
You saw how fast I could go?
Yes.
I could not go that fast in conventional because resetting took 1 or 2 seconds. That stretch reflex was dissipating from the body.
Yes.
That is what. So in RDL, what is the major difference? There's a lot of stretch reflex that we get. Okay. And because RDL, we don't load completely to the ground, the load is only till here, right?
Yeah.
The load is only till here. So it is a pure hip joint movement. If someone wants to do hip hinge, it is a pure hip hinge movement. Someone wants to focus on glutes, RDL is better. Why? Because when I do this, there is also a lot of knee bend which is occurring.
Correct.
When I do the conventional deadlift, there's also a lot of knee bend which is occurring. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I want to develop glutes, RDL becomes better because there is pure emphasis on the hip hinge. When I do conventional, knee bend also is occurring a lot more.
Yes.
Lesser than squat, but still a lot more. So that is why, again, that way you need to select. Your aim is to improve strength. Want to get stronger? Conventional deadlift is good. Rdl works beautifully. Your focus is glute development. Hypertrophy, glute development. Because there I'm not bothered about the stretch reflex. It's okay. I'm happy if I get more stretch reflex because I can do more reps. More reps means more volume, means more growth over here. But if I want to focus on strength, I choose conventional deadlift. And conventional deadlift with the deload, not with the bounce. With the bounce, you can do more reps, more volume. But if you want to get strong, then you have to deload the weight, pick up from the floor, and make sure your every rep is as good as the first rep.
Yeah. So I think you have already answered.
Too much today?
Yes.
I'm thinking.
No.
Yes. Okay. I feel like
you can
I'm
take a break
more
if
than
you
normal
want.
today. Something is wrong.
You can take break.
It is excellent, sir.
I think it's more. I don't know how many reps I've done till now. I did this.
Yeah. So you can just catch some breath.
Tell me, what question is next? What is the next question?
Okay, so I think you have already answered one question, which was exactly about which one to choose, whether the conventional or the Romanian. That was by Sumeta. So I think just now you answered that question. Like she had asked, like, what is the basis of recommending conventional deadlift or Rdl to a client? So I think you answered that right now, right? So another question is.
I've answered, but I don't know if they got the satisfactory answer or not. Then I can repeat otherwise.
I think you answered it well. I think if not, then you can drop a message again if this part is. Yeah, Sumita said she got it. Yeah. Okay, so there's another question. Does the efficiency of the lift depend on the correct choice of the bar diameter? Ideally for deadlift is 27 millimeter. So the diameter diameter of the bar. So that is by Tanuj. Yeah. Efficiency of the lift depends upon the.
Just repeat the question again.
Does the efficiency of the lift depend upon the correct choice of the bar diameter? Ideally for deadlift, it's 27 millimeter. Is that right?
The efficiency of the lift depends on your body mechanics, Tanuj. Okay.
Yeah, Tanuj.
I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So efficiency of the lift depends on the overall body mechanics, your mobility, flexibility, stability. I just put a post on it on Instagram today morning. So it depends on that, the efficiency. So your biomechanics that we say, right? Your mechanics of the body. So it depends on that. Diameter of the bar will play a small role because that is how it will decide how good your grip is. Now imagine if Sonali's palms are smaller than mine. If I tell her that we are going to do it with a very thick bar, which is over the one over here on the floor, okay? If I use that, obviously it's going to compromise her grip strength, right? Because now her palm size is small, the bar is very bigger. So it's not going to fit inside properly and it's going to hamper her lifting. Or imagine if I was using fat grips. There's something called fat grips. I have it at home. I didn't carry it. But basically if I was using a fat grip, okay, which is trying to increase the grip size of the bar by putting some rubber on it, okay? That is going to affect my efficiency in the short run, okay? Obviously, because adaptation is not there. So it is going to drop my efficiency. It will drop the poundage that I can lift. But again, also experimenting with a thicker barbell has shown to improve the grip strength in the long run. So if you continuously keep practicing, short run, obviously you're going to drop the efficiency of your lift. But in the long run, what will happen is that your grip strength will improve, your forearm strength will improve, your bicep activation will improve, more hypertrophy can offer. So all those factors will definitely improve. It depends. What are you looking for? Are you looking for short-term advantage? You're looking for long-term advantage. Accordingly, decide.
So another question, I think, yeah, you have already answered again. So do we have to touch the shins to the bar while lifting or maintain a distance? So I think you have already answered this because we can touch the shins. Yeah. Yeah. So now Roshni has also asked the same question and I think you have already answered it, right? So another question by Rachana is the movement.
Safety is important. That's it.
Yeah. So another question by Rachana. Is the movement wrong or is it injury prone if it is lower body dominant?
No, it's not lower body dominant. Basically, it's not wrong. I would say focus a lot on your upper body strength so that the imbalance of which is there in the strength can improve. Lower
Yeah.
body dominance will happen because upper body is not able to catch up with the lower body, right? The strength difference. Anyways, the upper body strength of in women is 2/3 of men. Upper body strength in women is 2/3 of men. So that means lower body, when you compare the strength level, men and women almost come as close, very close to each other. But in upper body, there is a clear differentiation because of the deltoid structure and everything. If you see a guy's shoulder structure and a girl's shoulder structure, like Sonali and me stand next to each other, you can exactly see the difference in the shoulder structure and everything. So that means you need to focus a lot on the upper body also, so that you can remove that imbalance. And again, hip and shoulder move at the same time when you're doing the deadlift.
Okay. So another question by Tina, right? Should we take a pause at the bottom?
Yes, you need to take a pause. No? That is the whole purpose of the deload, right? You're doing a
Yes.
deload so that your every rep is as good as the first rep. You have to take a
Mhm.
pause, otherwise, how will you reset your shoulders and grip?
Yeah.
need about
So she's
1.5
asking like how
seconds, right?
long? Yeah. So
How
not more
long
than
means,
like 2 or 3
if you
seconds. Yeah.
no, not in 2 to 3, 1 to 2 seconds. If you wait
Yeah.
for too long, then you'll get tired. You'll be wasting a lot of
Yes.
energy there.
Huh.
Like I did so many reps. So you all
Mhm.
saw me, right? How I was setting like about 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Aditya, how much time is it taking? Tell me.
The same 1 to 2 seconds. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
now
1
don't
to
make
2
me do more reps.
seconds.
I'm tired.
Yeah. No, and actually I've noticed people who waste a lot of time at the bottom in that position, they tend to get this blackouts. Like I've seen people getting blackouts when they're in that hinge
I don't know. I
position
can't comment because it
at the
depends. I don't know
bottom.
what must have gone wrong. Whether they didn't
Yeah,
eat
yeah. But
properly the
I've
previous
realized that.
morning.
Yeah.
Could be nutrition, could be nerve impingement, could be so many factors. Can't comment by someone who faces blackout. But you would get tired, yes, holding a long time
Yes.
because everything is flexed. So
Yes.
muscles are under tension, quads are under tension,
Mhm.
hamstring is under tension, hip is under tension,
Mhm.
erector spina is under tension because you're
Yeah.
holding tight, maintaining a neutral spine position. So everything is under tension. Everywhere energy demand is going high. ATP generation is
Yeah.
required to be fast. So you get
Yeah.
tired if you hold for long.
Yeah.
Just good enough. 1-2 seconds and go.
Yes.
2
And
seconds is maximum.
okay. So another question, like, does this different variations of this deadlift like target different muscles? This is by Yash.
Yes, I just said, no. If you're doing RDL, it will be more glute dominant.
Yeah.
Otherwise, basically, because it's a hinge movement.
Mhm.
If you understand what is a hinge movement by now, what I've been talking since the last 1 hour, if
Mhm.
it's a hinge movement, you are going to still basically activate all the same muscle groups. Only the quantum of activation between muscle groups will change depending if you're going for a deload version, if you're going for a RDL version, if you're going for a stiff leg version. The activation
Okay.
quantum of activation changes across muscles, but basically muscles which will get activated is the same because eventually you are doing the hinge movement, right? Hinge
Yeah.
movement is what? I hope everybody remembers now. I've been talking for 1 hour. Single joint movement, hinge movement at the hip
Yeah.
joint, at the elbow joint. They all hinge joint. HINGE.
Mhm.
Elbow, knee, they all are hinge joint. Hip joint is
Mhm.
actually a ball and socket joint, but we are talking about the hinge movement pattern,
Okay.
which means basically only flexion and extension over here. That is
Mhm.
hinge movement type.
Mhm. And Yash is asking, what about sumo? So is this the difference in the stance? So Yash is asking, like in sumo, like the muscles targeted.
So again, still the same answer, but basically the quantum
Mhm.
of activation will change. Sumo stance will become a slightly more glute dominant movement because of the wide stance
Yeah.
and the limitation at the knee joint. So your knee bending, your knee flexing is more in the conventional deadlift, lesser in the sumo stance. So you'll be activating more of more of glutes than quads. And in
Okay.
fact, actually, not in so much in the glutes, I think more in the adductor area, because your adductors are actually the ones which are getting stretched a lot. So
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
adductor magnus, adductor longus, adductor brevis, there are 4 muscles in the adductor group. Longus, magnus, brevis, and I think one more is there, pectinis. I think those muscles will basically get targeted a lot more
Okay. So one
because they are
last
the ones which are
question
getting
by,
stretched.
sorry. Okay, so the one last question by Ekta. Like, Yeah, I think this thing also you have already covered while you are taking, like, when Sonali was executing it. How much low your dumbbell should go? How much low your dumbbell should go down, lower than the shin, while doing the RDL?
So basically, it's a good question actually, Ekta. So actually, you're supposed to go low just good enough till where your hip hinge is occurring. So okay. So for example, if I am this particular position, let us take the dumbbell. Okay. So if this is my position, okay, I'm just going to move the bar a bit. Okay. So if this is the position, okay, now see. Okay, Aditi, am I in the right angle?
Yes.
Okay. Now see. Now I am trying to focus on the hip hinge, right? Which means the movement at the hip. Now, if this is what I'm trying to do, if you see my hip hinge has already got over, right? Aditi, what do you think? Aditi,
Yeah.
hip hinge is already over. So I'm going to
Yes,
stop here. Now, if I have to go below, see what happens?
You'll have to use the knee.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have to use the knee. So what am I trying to focus on? The hip hinge. That means movement over here at the hip joint. Okay.
Hip flexion. Yeah.
So that's it. If I can, if I had to go lower, I can, but I would have to use my knee. But that is not the
Yes.
focus area. I'm trying to focus on this movement at the hip joint here. So this is the movement. So wherever your hip hinge stops, you also stop. So there is a very simple cue which I use when I'm teaching the clients online. I tell them, your hip stops moving, you also stop moving. Okay. What is the cue that I give the client? Your hip stops moving, you start moving, stop moving. Okay. So when the client is doing the RDL, he's thinking about his hip. If the hip stops moving, the hands also stop moving. That's it. So this is the hinge position. Not this, because I didn't see the knee bend has increased. I have to stop here, not involve my knee.
Okay. So I'm so sorry, Tanujib. So, coach, it's not Tanuj, it's Tanujib. I think I mispronounced
Tanujib.
it last week also. So today also,
Tanujib.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize for that. Yeah. Okay. So I think we have covered all the questions, coach. Navjeet has a message saying that, I think wall drill with the band. We haven't covered it.
Wall drill with the band, Navjeet, I'm going to cover next week, because actually I was assuming that the band is there in the gym, but basically they don't have the band in the gym. I think someone has misplaced it, or maybe I think it's broken or something. I can't find it. So I'll have to carry my resistance band from home. Actually, Sonali also has a band, but we both were assuming that it will be there in the gym and we'll do it. So that is not there, but I'll cover next week, because it's a very simple movement. It will take like 5, 7, 10 minutes to cover. So I will cover it next time when we are doing that wall band drill. Okay. It basically just teaches you how to basically coach the hinge movement to a new client. So basically, I would make them stand near a particular wall. Okay. Once I make them stand like near a particular wall, okay, a little distance from the wall, and then using the band support, I would tell them that, try to touch the wall. Okay. That is how exactly I would teach a client. So, for example, what we will do, okay, is this. Sonali, can you just hold the stick from here? Okay. So you stand where I am standing and just hold the stick. Okay. So now see, if you see, Sonali is actually here. Okay. So instead of the wall, I'm just using a pipe right now so that you all can see it. Because, okay. So what I'm going to do is basically, Aditi, is the angle okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll show you all how to use the band. Okay. But basically, if I'm trying to teach someone how to hinge, this is the cue that I will give. Okay. I will tell them that think about touching the pipe behind. Okay. So 1, 2, or I can keep my hands here. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, what is the mistake that the client can do? Okay, let's see the mistake also. If he's not hinging properly, then he will do this.
Squatting the deadlift. Yeah.
So many times when you tell the client to hinge, he's actually squatting. So the client does this. So what do I tell the client? Forget everything. Think about keeping a straight back. Think about keeping a neutral position of the back, and think about touching the pipe behind. So So this is how I would start teaching. Understood? Is it clear or no?
Yes. It
Navjeet,
is.
समझ में आया? Right.
Thank you, sir.
So
समझ
that
आ
is how. So in the wall band drill, I'm just basically going to show you how to wrap the band. Because once you are done with body weight, okay? Once the body weight is done, which I just showed right now, then basically the band will give a little bit of more resistance in doing that movement. So you can build that consciousness into the client for the forming technique. Once the band is done, then you can start with CVC pipes, 5 kg bar, 10 kg bar, and probably then move to the plates. Okay?
Yeah. I think we're done with the questions today, Coach. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no more questions. Yeah.
Okay, what's the time?
It's 3. It's going to be 3:15, 3:10, I suppose.
3:10, right? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So I think we finished early today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show one more
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah, there's one request by Vaishali. Would it be possible to demonstrate a stiff leg deadlift with a dumbbell? Not sure if that is going to be covered now. Yeah.
It's the same, Vaishali. What I did RDL, stiff leg is same. So basically, I'm not wearing tight lycra pants. Sonali can show actually. Sonali is wearing tight lycra pants, so you can understand. Okay, Sonali, will you take 5 kgs, 5 or whatever, 3.5, whatever is possible. I'm not giving her very heavy weight because I don't practice. She works out with me, but I don't make a practice on heavy dumbbells. We don't do stiff leg deadlift normally. That's why to ensure safety, I don't want to give her heavy weight because she's not used to stiff leg deadlift. But we'll still demonstrate. What happened? 5 kgs, huh? It's here. Okay. So, knees just have to be stiff, okay? Which stiff means basically, so, okay. So I'll tell you, don't hyperextend. Just stand straight. Now, this is extension position, right? Extend. Now contract your quadriceps. Contract your quadriceps. See. Nice. Quads are tight now. Now just basically get the dumbbells in line with the toes. Okay, that's it. 1. Okay. No bend at the knee. Okay, go. Absolutely, that's it. Up. Nice. And up. Nice. Tighten the quadriceps. Okay, go. 2 more. And stop. Last. 1 more. Tighten the quads. That's it. So that was a stiff leg deadlift. So I'm ensuring that the knees are completely extended, not hyperextended. Extended, quadriceps are nice and tight, which is basically controlling the knee joint. Okay, so the knee tracking does not shift. You're controlling the knee joint, going for the position of the hinge. Wherever the hinge is ending, stop and come back up. Same.
Okay. So another question by Yash. Any tips of using belt while doing deadlift as it hurts? I'm not comfortable with it. So he's saying that his.
Sorry, what expert? I didn't understand. What?
No, any tips of using belt while doing deadlift as it hurts? I'm not comfortable with it. Yash is not comfortable wearing the deadlift. He's saying that it hurts him.
Uncomfortable. Why do you have to wear the belt?
Okay.
The
Otherwise,
belt is
he's
good
saying
if you
like
are going
any
for like
tips.
about 1.5 times of your body weight, 2 times of your body weight. Then it makes sense to wear the belt because you need that extra compression. Otherwise, your abdomen, if you just ensure proper abdominal bracing is happening, you don't need the
breathing
belt.
and all that.
Where did I do wear the belt when I'm showing the demo with 60 kgs? My body weight is 75. I was doing 60 kgs, which was almost 90% of what. Aditi, you are better than math. How much is 60 kgs of 75?
60 kg of 75. It should be somewhere around 80 to 85.
So I was almost doing, 0.85% of my body weight, right?
Yeah, 80%.
I was not wearing a belt, and I would not even wear a belt if I was doing 100 kgs also. So
Yeah.
I mean, because if you need a belt at such light weights, that means where is the work of the abdomen happening? That means your abdominal muscles are so weak that you can't even hold the weight at this much. So only if you're going more than 1.5, 2.2 times your body weight, if my body weight is 75, and if I'm lifting more than 150 kgs, then wearing a belt makes sense because just the abdominal bracing may not make me feel confident. To improve my confidence, I will wear a belt. And the wearing of belt happens just below the rib cage. And obviously, it is not a comfortable thing. That's why I said don't wear it, because if it's not a comfortable thing, obviously you will feel a lot of discomfort when you wear a belt. If the belt is worn properly, nice and tight, you will experience discomfort. Breathing will also be difficult. But
Yeah.
you are looking for performance. So people who want performance, they don't think about the discomfort. They are like, okay to handle that thing. Like
Okay.
sometimes Sonali does it. And Sonali also, when we are working out, so Sonali will tell me at some exercises that, you know, Pankaj, I think it's very uncomfortable, it's hurting in the hand, this and that. So I tell her that if you want performance, ignore the pain for a few seconds and just finish it. Some exercise you are doing that day, I told you, right? Just ignore it for a few seconds. So that is what, when you're thinking about performance, then you tend to ignore these things.
Okay.
Yes.
So another question by Tina: conventional deadlifts with dumbbells, if possible, because not all clients have barbells at home.
Not possible. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not possible to do.
Conventional deadlift
with
with
dumbbells, not
dumbbells.
possible at all.
Yeah.
Because the entire mechanically don't support it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clients, if
Ultimately,
they
you
don't
have
want
to
to, don't have a
squat.
setup
Yeah.
at home, then I just stick to RDL. Why do you want to do conventional?
Yeah. Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
some clients,
Yeah.
Aditi
Correct.
and me who train at home only. So we don't do conventional. Not possible.
Yeah.
See, everything that you want to do, sometimes there are some specific things which have like a dress code, right? If you want to go to someone's wedding, you can't wear shorts and go. There is a dress code. So if you want to go to the wedding, you have to adhere to the dress code. If you want to go to a fancy restaurant, sometimes they put rules that you have to wear shoes and come. If you wear slippers, you're not allowed, no matter how much money you have in your pocket. So sometimes there are some prerequisites to do something in life. Okay, conventional deadlift, there are prerequisites if you want to execute that movement efficiently. If those prerequisites are not matched, we can't do anything. The client does not have the setup. That means can't give them that particular thing. You know, I mean, I know some people may feel bad about it, but can't help it, right? I also want to go to the Taj and eat, and I sometimes feel that I have the money. Why can't they allow me in shorts? Why can't they allow me in slippers? How does it matter? I have the money to pay, right, for the bill. But they have a dress code. I have to adhere to it if I want to go to the Taj and eat. So it's like that.
Yeah.
So prerequisites are there sometimes for certain things. We can't do anything.
So I think we have covered all the questions, Coach. I think we have. I think it's time for us to wrap up. If there's anything that you want
What's the time? What's the time?
It's 3:15.
3:15, right? Okay, I have 15 minutes. I think I'm going to do one more lift. I'm going to show them good morning. That was not a part of the plan, but I will still show it because it's supposed to be a very good hinge movement. And Sonali also does it very well. So basically, we are going to use it to demonstrate. So good morning. I don't know. How many of y'all have heard of good morning? Just write yes on the chat box so Aditi knows. We'll lift it. 1 second. I'll take it from here only. Let's finally clear this now. We don't need the dumbbells now. The dumbbell movement's all over. Aditi, how many people know about good morning?
A lot of people are saying yes, but yes, heard about it, but not done, not practice.
Okay.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
Okay, how many of y'all practice good morning? Just write yes on the chat box so Aditi understands.
Yeah, you can just drop yes.
Just
1, 2.
say yes on the chat box so Aditi understands how many of y'all do it.
3. I think 5 of them.
So 5 of them do it, huh? Who are the 5 who do it? Very nice. Who does it? Can you tell me Aditi the names?
Yeah, let me just check. Yeah, it's Vishnu, Rachana, Tina, Ekta, Pratibha,
nice.
and
They do
Riya.
it, huh? Very
Yeah.
nice. All champions हो ये. तो दिखाना किसको है? तो दिखाओ कि नहीं दिखाओ? If everybody does it.
We have 32 participants, and I think 6 of them
okay.
do it. So
हमें देखना है सर, हमें देखना है.
Yeah, हमें देखना है at least.
All right. Cool. So good morning again. I would say it's an exercise which is just like kind of opposite of deadlift. Okay. Movement pattern जो है same है, hinge movement ही है, but it is the opposite of deadlift. In deadlift हम लोग क्या करते हैं? the loading is from the front, right? The weight is here, the loading is from the front in the deadlift. In the good morning, movement is same, but the loading is from the back. Loading is not here, loading is from the back. Okay. So this would be the loading, how it happens in the good morning. Okay. So like a squat, one arm distance from the bar, walk up to the bar, go underneath the bar, stand straight, unrack the bar, take the shoulder width stance. Okay. I'll come slightly ahead. Aditi, is it okay now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this is my shoulder width stance. Okay.
Yeah.
Now look at my
Yeah.
forearm position exactly below the bar, correct? Because I'm trying to use the forearms as pillars to hold the weight. Okay. Now what do? As I go down slightly, my forearms also start moving. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 2. Okay. So again. Walk behind, touch, unrack. Okay. So that was good morning. Okay. Like I said, the same thing like deadlift. Instead of front loading, you are doing loading from the back. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'll put some weight. Again, try to demonstrate. So Sonali, can you demonstrate first a few reps so they can see how you're doing it? Okay. So now Sonali is going to perform a few reps and I will basically just explain you all what is happening. Yes, come out. That's it. Just go behind. One more. That's it. Okay. Perfect. So she's taken a position. Everything remains the same. She's going to just hinge from the hip. The weight is going to come down. Okay. Go. 1. Nice. She does it better than me. 2. 3. 4. So if you observe the neck position, neutral position, shoulders retracted, neutral, just like how you hold the bar in the back squat. Hinging from the hip, knees are extremely very soft, small degree of angle at the knee. Okay. So just see, very minor degree of flexion at the knee. Main movement is occurring at the hip. That's it. Walk behind, 4 steps, touch the bar, and unrack. That's it. So that was good morning. If I had to load more weight also, everything remains the same. Good morning can be one very good accessory work for even one more exercise for back squat. Okay. So I'll tell you all why.
Okay.
Why good morning is very good for back squats also. Okay. So I'm going to execute 5 reps. Okay. Again, stand at 1 arm distance from the bar. Okay. When you're holding the bar, keep it slightly outside the shoulders. 1 arm distance from the bar, outside the shoulders. Walk to the bar, get underneath, stand straight, unrack the bar, 2 steps out, 1, 2. Now again, tighten it. Walk behind, come back. Okay. So I was
Okay, so
saying
this-
it's a good accessory movement even for the back squats. Why? Because sometimes if you see when people are back squatting, some people have a very high forward lean. Okay. Because especially with women also this sometimes is seen. Okay. When you're trying to do the back squat, there is an extra forward lean. Okay. Why does the extra forward lean happen? Because erector spinae in men versus women is different, right? The size of the erector spinae muscle. So if you want to strengthen the erector spinae muscle, if you want to reduce your forward lean, okay, instead of this, if you want to do this and you want to come up, okay, so strengthening of the erector spinae happens brilliantly with good morning. So if you want to work on your upper body strength, your erector spinae density, okay, If you want to increase the density of your erector spinae fibers, then again, good morning works very better. Then you can actually reduce your forward lean position that is occurring. Okay. So with this, so slowly, instead of doing this, you'll be able to hold this position and squat, because the ability of your back muscles to tolerate the weight will improve with good morning. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, that's what you recommended me for my squats.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question is, let me just check. Yeah. So, sir, can we do it with dumbbells holding them near to chest? Seen many people doing that. Oh, okay. Good mornings. With dumbbells holding near to the chest. How is it? This is spinal loading, right?
Who asked this
Axial
question?
loading.
Who asked this question?
This is by Tina.
Okay. So Tina, I think what you're referring to is reverse back extension. Someone being on a reverse back extension machine, holding the plate in the front and then try to do this. Correct? Am I right in assuming that?
Okay, yeah. I think that's what she meant, because
Yeah.
good morning is a
So
axial
that is-
loading, right?
Good morning is basically loading from the back.
Yeah, but
That
loading
is
from the
what it
back.
is.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, that exercise is meant to be that way. I
Mhm.
did not create that exercise. I read about that exercise and I'm implementing it,
Yeah.
but I don't know who created it. So the exercise is meant to be loaded from behind. So this is the movement. So the movement pattern is hinge. And if you want to execute good morning, the loading is from the top, on the back side, on the top. Okay. That is good morning. If you're doing it from the front, then you're talking about reverse hyper. It's called reverse hyper. So you're holding the weight here, but on your reverse extension machine, we don't have, unfortunately, that machine here in the gym. Otherwise, I could have shown that also.
Vaishali
hyper.
is saying, I thought they hold it at a skull breaker position and do it with dumbbell.
Sorry, they hold it at the
Skull breaker position, and do it with
skull
dumbbell.
breaker.
Mhm.
What is skull breaker? Sorry,
Skull crusher, I
What?
guess. I think she meant to say skull crusher. When we are doing the tricep, the skull crusher position, I don't know. Yes, crusher. Yeah. Vaishali is saying, I think they do it with a skull crusher position. They
Who
hold
they?
it at a
They
skull
means
crusher
who?
position and do it with
Who
dumbbell.
they? But who are they?
People. They have seen people doing it with the dumbbell at the skull crusher position and do it with the dumbbell.
Skull crusher position. Good morning. Who? You've seen? Ah,
Even I have not
sorry.
seen.
People do weird things, so I don't have an answer for that. Because I'm trying to think, holding it here and doing it with no, because the loading happens in the behind. I mean, I don't know what exercise is that, but we are talking about good morning specifically. So if we are talking about good morning, if both of us are discussing good morning, then the loading is here. That doesn't change. As far as I know, I don't know if 6 months later science comes up with some new thing that okay, it can be held on the head also and done it. So I don't know. As of now, the good morning that I know happens from here. So
Yeah.
I don't want to say anybody is wrong, okay? Otherwise, students will pounce on me 6 months later saying, "Sir, आपने तो बोला ऐसा नहीं होता है." तो सब कुछ हो सकता है बाबा. Science पे कुछ guarantee नहीं है. कुछ anything can change anytime. As of today, this is what I know and this is what I'm teaching everyone. My clients, including me, I also practice the same thing. If I have to teach Sonali, I'll teach the same thing. But basically, this is what we know as of today. I don't know if someone is already so advanced that they've already found out some new method of doing it. So I am not exposed to that yet. Maybe when I come to know about it, if I read about it, I will definitely put a clarification post on Instagram so everybody can learn that also. I will do it.
She's
If I
saying
come to know if there is some other way.
Yash is saying they do for abs sitting in the floor, I guess. So I think it's something to do with some other exercise. I think
That's
not the good morning.
That is basically cable trunk flexion. That is basically you're doing abdominal workout for your thing. That is different.
So another question by Rabia.
This is different.
Does hyperextension bench does the same thing as good morning, working on erector spinae?
Hyperextension, sorry.
Extension bench does the same thing as good morning for the erector spinae.
That's the same thing as erector. Yeah, it is. It is basically, yes. It is.
Yes.
Here basically you're going to experience more loading on the upper back position because the load itself is there. On the reverse hyper, will be more in the lower back, mid to lower back position. Yes. You're again eventually trying to strengthen the erector spinae only.
Okay.
Okay. Done? Yes, no?
Yes, we
Aditi?
have covered all the questions. Yes, coach, we have covered all the questions. I think we can wrap it up for today, I
I
guess.
have a question, Navjeet, here. Sir, I have seen few people doing hip hinge movement with rope on cable station.
Your hip hinge movement on the
With rope on cable
I think she
station.
meant the
they do
cable
it.
pull through. I think the pull throughs. I think she meant that.
basically different ways of loading the movement from different angles. You can basically, if people are doing it with the rope also, this is again something which Aditi does it. Aditi must have posted on her Instagram also. So basically the
Yeah,
weight
I
is
did.
coming from behind, it's coming from here, and then you're trying to still do the hip hinge movement only. It's just that the movement pattern does not change. The movement pattern is still the same. You're doing a hip hinge only, but basically loading from different positions. Loading from the front, again, conventional deadlift, wider stance, sumo deadlift, doing with the dumbbells, not deloading, Romanian deadlift, putting the load here, good morning, putting the load here, doing it on the machine, reverse hyperextension, cable pull throughs, again, the weight is coming right from behind. You are again emphasizing the top portion of the movement. So you're trying to focus on the glute, which is in the top portion. So again, there's different ways of emphasizing. I mean, one particular movement pattern can have 10 different effects. You can load it in 10 different ways. You can do the same thing that I showed today. You can do a trap bar deadlift also. That is again one more way of loading it. Trap bar deadlift. It will emphasize more on the glutes also, more on the quadriceps. In fact, the quad dominant deadlift, trap bar deadlift is a more quad dominant deadlift. So basically, there are many ways of doing basically the same thing. Different loading schemes, different angles to activate certain different muscle fibers in a particular area. So everything is right. As far as we are maintaining the natural mechanics that I've discussed, if you're maintaining those particular mechanics, everything is okay. Whichever stance you want, whichever variation you want.
Okay, one last, I think there's one more question by Vijaya. When Sonali was executing deadlift, you asked her to tuck her belly in. Is this just for the initial, or we have to engage throughout the rep? Or maybe throughout the set?
After every rep,
Yeah.
when you're resetting the posture,
Mhm.
it is important.
Yeah.
I had
Okay.
discussed it during the squats also. During the
Yeah,
squats,
yeah.
I asked about abdominal
Engaging the
bracing.
core,
I
yeah.
mentioned about it.
Mhm.
Engaging your core
Mhm.
abdominal muscles.
Core bracing, yeah.
Yes, abdominal muscles को engage करने के लिए. So very important, and it's very helpful.
Yeah.
It will help improve the stability of the spine also.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
Coach, I think, yes, we have answered all the questions.
Good. Are we done for the day?
Yes, we're done for today.
Okay, fantastic, guys. Thanks a lot for joining
Okay.
in. And next Sunday is our last session, which we'll be doing. And basically, we'll cover up everything else. I think just I'll carry the band, and we'll ensure that thing is covered on the last session. Okay. And Tina, I remember group picture, right? Where is Tina?
Yes, she's requested for a group picture.
Okay. I'm just going to end the recording once again. Thanks a lot for joining in, guys. Bye bye. Once again.